Welcome back to another episode of the Book Reporters with Joe and Lauren. I am Joe, and I am joined again by Lauren.
Hey
Hello.
Joe, how are you?
I am pretty good. How are you this week?
Good. Yeah.
That's awesome. We have two more books to discuss this week. You, I believe you're up first, but my pick will be the Unraveling of Cassidy Holmes, which I am looking forward to diving into with you to tell you all about. But I believe you are up first this week. What do you have you're
I
talking about?
have, I have Deadly Little Lies by Stephanie DeCarolis. Um, and this book actually just came out this past week as we're recording it, November 26th, 2021. And I found this author on Instagram with her debut novel, which was The Guilty Husband. And I read that earlier this year and I really liked it. And I was excited to see her follow up, which is a standalone. It's not in a series, but it ended up on NetGalley and I actually got an advance copy of it, which was awesome. So, the synopsis for Deadly Little Lies is: some secrets are best left buried. The perfect life. Juliana Daniels finally has the life she's always dreamed of: a loving husband, a career as an attorney, and a cozy apartment in Manhattan to call home. But when she gets a message from an old college friend, her blood runs cold. Remember me? One deadly little lie. Juliana drops her phone as though she's been scolded. The name Jenny Teller shines out from the screen. But Jenny can't have sent that message because Jenny's dead. Juliana's other college friends have all received the same message. The four of them are the only ones who know the truth about the night Jenny died. It's a secret they have kept buried for 15 years. Who do you trust? With Jenny now blackmailing them and threatening to expose their secret, only one thing is certain: someone else knows the truth about the night, or one of them is lying. So, yeah, this type of mystery is right up my alley. It's a small group of people, told in alternating storylines of past and present. Um, I like that group of friends that had ups and downs, and at some points they're unlikable, but it's also kind of going along with growing up and going through school and life experiences and different things that kind of shape people. And you might not make the best decision all the time. And sometimes, getting to the other side of it, you come out a better person, but you kind of go through maybe some not so nice sides of yourself. And I like that because, each of these characters in the book, you could like at times and you could have a problem with them as well. But our main character, Jules, as the synopsis says, is an attorney. She's working on her career. She's not yet partner. She's kind of gunning for that promotion in the world of law. And she's given a break. She's given a chance to kind of prove herself and perhaps get that promotion. And at the same time, she receives a letter from this girl, Jenny, who died back when they were all in college. And of course, this rattles her. She ends up talking to her old friends from that time who were also involved in whatever happened to Jenny. And there's Emily, Nessa, and Tori. And then there are a couple other girls kind of on the outskirts, including Jenny. So it's, like I said, it's told in alternating chapters, pretty much alternates every one. Every once in a while, you'll get a back-to-back between now. But for the most part, it's that classic back and forth on telling of the story. And it's interesting to, again, kind of see how people change, because the Jules of today seems very likable. And I really enjoyed reading the now more than the past, just because the past, you do see these girls make, childish mistakes and have cliques and, show not so nice sides of them, but that's kind of the norm, I feel like, in college or high school or whatever. And it's just kind of interesting to see how people have grown in 15 years. But the girls themselves, the friends, they're a little bit cryptic as well, and you don't really know who to trust. That's all part of this. And there's not that much of a cast of characters once you get to meet everybody. I mean, there's probably less than 10 people in this book, including everyone. And I really appreciated that. Sometimes it's difficult to keep everybody together, but I feel like everyone's personalities was carved out enough that, you weren't confused. There weren't any names that were too similar to other names. And I feel like you got to really know these people for better or worse. So as the story goes along, we learn more and more about what happened to Jenny and more about her personality. And you could really feel that Jenny was outside looking in with this group and how they treated her. And, as college is going on, or at least that year is going on, how they kind of get worse before they certainly worse before they get better. And it was just kind of interesting to see how this all fit together. In the end, I did kind of predict some of the twists and some I didn't, which is good, because if I can solve it, I don't think it says a whole lot. But yeah, it wasn't as mind-blowing of a twist as I would have expected, but it all tied up pretty nicely, in my opinion. I don't think that there were really any loose ends with this. Probably one of my gripes would be how nicely things were tied up, which, for it being such a terrible story and tragedy that happened to this girl Jenny that we find out, the ending almost seemed a little too sugary for my liking. And that might just be my personal opinion, but I feel like a book where, a girl, it comes back from the dead to haunt you, maybe should be grounded in a little more reality as it ties up. But overall, I feel like it was a great mystery, kind of thrillerish read. And I think a lot of people will be able to relate to these characters. I don't think it's necessarily female. I mean, the story is female driven, but I don't think that you have to be a female to pick up on these characters. I think we can all identify with some of these people through people that we've known in life. And overall, I do recommend it. I think that I would round up to a 4. I would say it maybe is a little closer to a 3.75 star, but I felt like in the end, it was such a well-written book that it deserves that roundup in the star rating.
Yeah, I mean, it does. It sounds like something that's right up my alley too.
Mm-hmm.
Because I did look it up. I I saw the ebook was only like 2.99. I thought about getting it, but I wouldn't have had time to read it this week in time.
Right.
But
It's one of those things
it
that,
is on. Yeah, it is on my list though.
yeah,
So
I enjoyed it. I feel like it was your standard kind of story, in a sense of it's got all the makings of the checkbox if you're going, wanting a book about clicks and
yeah, it
women.
sounds. And I haven't read this series of books, and I've only seen like one season of the show, but it sounds like very Pretty Little Liars esque.
Right.
Yeah, I mean that's
Yeah, there's
I
some pettiness, there's jealousy,
yeah,
infighting,
yeah.
fighting over guys. There's all
This
kind of.
this group of friends having an old secret of I mean
it's
I think like Pretty Little Liars is the YA version of that.
it's the classic storyline. And for some people they want more, and for others reading that is, yeah, I like, for me, I've said this before, but it's hard for me to find a good romance that I like, because I read the back and I feel like I know exactly how it's going to end, and it's just same shit, different characters basically. And I know that reading this, for a lot of people, they're like, oh my gosh, okay, typical
Yeah.
girls fighting over who's most popular, who's going to get the guy, this, that, whatever. But for me, I'm like, yeah, bring it on. It's cool.
Well,
So
I just put something together too. That Pretty Little Liars, the book's called what? Deadly Little Lies.
yeah,
So similar title.
yeah,
All
it
right.
is. And it's got a great cover too, by the way. Just
Yeah.
just to throw that out there. I think the cover really caught my eye when I was scrolling on NetGalley. And then I saw that it was Stephanie DeCarolis, and she is both of her books I've liked very well. And I was like, okay, I'm going to request this. We'll see what happens. And I was very pleased to get an advance copy of it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But I mean, final positive review. I mean,
Yeah, I would round up to a 4 out of 5.
okay.
And I did look for other reviews. Of course, this book is not, there aren't a ton of reviews. I mean, that being said, there were 53 reviews, 81 ratings on Goodreads, and I think less on Amazon, but there were no 1-star reviews. So I don't have an alternative viewpoint. It's only based on 20 reviews on Amazon, and none of those were negative at all. I think maybe 1 2-star review, and I don't think it came with an actual, yeah, it's just a star rating. It didn't come with any type of review. On
Yeah.
Goodreads, there were a couple, but again, they didn't come with a review. There was a 2-star one that was pretty descriptive, but it's kind of, it's less comedic and more just the things I liked about the book, they didn't. And that's going to happen when you have a classic.
Yeah,
Line.
it was kind of the same thing with mine this week where I had trouble find like the negative reviews. I mean, I'll get into my thing with mine when I get to it, but like the negative reviews were kind of stuff I was a bit critical of with it, but like they penalized more for in their reviews. So
Mm-hmm.
something that I'm like I feel I'm going to be constructively critical of, they were more, it took them more out of it.
Right.
So I
Right.
mean, yeah, so it was kind of hard for me to find the same thing with mine.
Right. It's hard
But
to, I feel like we are the types of readers that can still appreciate things for the most part. I mean, of course, there are some books I just don't like, and I'm sure you're the same way, but for the most part, you can kind of appreciate some qualities. It might not be what you personally would have done if you were a writer, or you felt it could have gone in a different direction, but it doesn't necessarily like penalize the author themselves.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, it's very rare I find a book that I think is like, oh, this is just obviously like poorly written.
Yeah, and I know you've said that before. It's, I think that there's a lot of credit to be given in a book. Just because I have a difference of opinion on it doesn't mean it's bad. It doesn't mean my opinion is fact.
Yeah.
So, and plus, we've said before too, like I would never be able to write a book to save my life. So, and I always tried as a kid, but nothing ever came of it. But yeah. So if I can't do it better than they can, then how much am I entitled to criticize? I think some things are constructively warranted, but it's hard to.
And I think that's what I'm going to. I think that's what I'm going to do with mine when I get to it. But look, do you have any final words on yours?
No, it's out now. I know. I'm trying to see on my phone just exactly what the price is right now on Kindle, because it's hard to see on your phone. Sometimes they don't like tell you the Kindle price.
Well, I have to, to see the price on Kindle and to actually purchase the Kindle version, I have to go into Safari because the Amazon app doesn't tell you.
Right. It does have a banner up that says best price in 30 days though. So
yeah.
Maybe I will check that out and see if I can find it. But I do recommend it, especially if you're kind of into this type of mystery thriller of, it's 99 cents right now on Kindle. So
I don't 99 cents.
Yeah, that's the best price in 30 days, which kind of made me think when you said it was $2.99 and then I saw that banner, I thought, I wonder if it's any cheaper. But
I think I was looking at it when it was a pre-order, when you had first said you were doing it. So it would have still been a pre-order at that time.
Yeah.
But
right. And The Guilty Husband, the first book of hers, is also 99 cents, which I think is well worth it. I also gave that one 4 stars. I
am buying both of them right now.
Awesome.
Buy now with one click. Done. In your library.
So easy. The Guilty Husband is different. From what I remember, just extra bonus discussion. The main character is Vince, and his wife is maybe Nicole. Let's see if I can find a little bit on it. But that was a very good book as well. Vince has everything he could dream of. He's the CEO of a tech firm in New York. He owns a beautiful home, and most importantly, he's married to Nicole, the woman who stole his heart the first moment he set eyes on her. Together, they've built the perfect life. But when Layla, a stunning young intern at Vince's company, is found dead, all eyes are suddenly on him. Vince has a secret that threatens to tear their perfect world apart. He was having an affair with Layla, and he'll do anything to cover his tracks. When the police discover Vince lied about their relationship, they are convinced they have found Layla's killer. If Vince kept quiet about the affair, what else is he guilty of? That book was great too. And
tagline. Tagline for that. It only takes one lie to destroy a marriage.
Boom. Whoa, explosive right there.
And then hold on, let me read.
Yeah, I really enjoyed both books. And they're similar, but they're different. You really could get a feel for how wealthy Vince was. And Nicole and their life, and then with this Layla, how she kind of infiltrated that. It my recollection on it was very good.
Right. And the tag, just to throw this in, the tagline for Deadly Little Lies: the perfect lie, one deadly lie, will bring it crashing down.
Mm-hmm. They aren't they aren't lying on that one.
Or,
I read The Guilty Husband over 5 days back in May, and just because I usually track my stuff on Goodreads, Deadly Little Lies took me a little bit longer. That actually was over 2 weeks, but I don't feel it actually took me 2 weeks once I started. That was also in between Thanksgiving, and there were some distractions that week. So I would say both books were easily read in a few days if I, really had the time to spend. But so there we go. Actually, two reviews, one in depth and a mini review.
all right. So, yeah, both those books, well, on Saturday when we're recording this, they're 99 cents. So if they're still 99 cents when you're listening to this on Monday or anytime after, go ahead and pick them up. Or even if they're $2.99, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. I think I paid $2.99 for The Guilty Husband, I'm pretty sure, and
yeah,
it was well worth it. I mean, I easily forget books. Even if I really, really like them, sometimes I need a refresher. So, it's been 6 months plus since I read her first one. I still can remember really enjoying it. So that's my wrap up.
all right. And now for my pick this week is The Unraveling of Cassidy Holmes by Elissa R. Sloan. And I want to start off by reading the author's note, because some of the things I'm going to get into with this discussion might require a trigger warning. But here's the author notes. Please know that this book has some triggering elements. Its contents include suicide, descriptions of depression and disordered eating, on-page physical assault, off-page sexual assault, body shaming, and body dysmorphia. If you are in a vulnerable mind space, please be gentle with yourself before you continue to read this book. I know how hard it is to reach out when you feel like you're drowning. If you cannot talk to a trusted adult or friend about how you're feeling, here is an international resource to begin looking for help. Then it gives the website suicideprevention.wikia.org. And if you're in the US, you can call the National Suicide Prevention Hotline at 1-800-273-8255. So
That's awesome, actually.
yeah. And now I am going to get into the synopsis. Cassidy Holmes isn't just a celebrity. She is Sassy Gloss, the fourth member of the hottest pop group America has ever seen. Hotter than Britney dancing with a snake. Hotter than Christina getting dirty. Gloss was the pop act that everyone idolized. Fans couldn't get enough of them, their music, and the drama that followed them like a moth to a flame, until the group's sudden implosion in 2002. And at the center of it all was Sassy Cassie, the Texan with a signature smirk that had everyone falling for her, hook, line, and sinker. But now she's dead, suicide. The world is reeling from this unexpected news, but no one is more shocked than the three remaining Glossies. 15 years ago, Rose, Mary, and Yumi had been the closest to Cassidy, and this loss is hitting them hard. Before the girls split, they each had a special bond with her. Truths they told each other, secrets they shared. But after years apart, Each of them is wondering, what could they have done? Told in multiple perspectives, including Cassidy's, and through different timelines. This is a behind-the-scenes look into the rise and fall of a pop icon, as well as a penetrating examination of the dark side of celebrity and the industry that profits from it. Now, this book starts off in present day, and the three remaining glossies, where their names are Rose, Mary, and Yumi, and saying Rose and Mary together, it sounds like one person, but Rose is short for Rosalind, and Mary is short for Meredith, and Yumi is I don't have her for. I don't know if this is right or wrong, but it's short. She's Asian American, so her name is like Yumiko, or I can't. I unfortunately didn't take note of that at the time, but yeah. So they're the three remaining ones, and it starts off in present day. They're doing an interview on a radio show in London, and the premise for the interview is they've just made a cameo in a new movie that's coming out, and they're there to kind of promote it, and it's sort of like a little reunion for them, minus Cassidy. And they get the news while on air. It's breaking news that Cassidy has been found dead of an at the time they announced it, it's unknown, but it is later determined to be a suicide. And it then goes back into the past to start off Cassidy's story. And it starts in 1999 with her, and she's starting off as a contestant on a show called Singing America, which is clearly an American Idol type show. And she's a finalist along with this guy who continues as more of a character throughout the story. His name is Stephen St. James. And Cassidy ends up coming in second, and Stephen St. James wins the competition. And the prize is a automatic 3-album deal with this record label. And so after Cassidy finishes as a runner-up, she's obviously disappointed in it, and she goes back home. She's from Houston. She goes back home to her friends and family, and she's sort of in a funk for a while about not, it was her dream to win this competition and her dream to be a star. And so one of the judges, who was an executive at the label, she puts in a call saying that, I know you told me that the judges had made that one judge had made a remark that she would love to work with her someday regardless. So Cassidy at one point puts in a call saying, I thought I'd check in anyway. And she said, well, the judge tells her, like, I understand, I'd love to. Unfortunately, how would it look to the public if the grand prize for winning this competition was a record contract and you didn't win and yet you still got a record contract? Like, how would it look to the public? I obviously wish I could, but how would it look? So a few months later, it goes to, I think, late in the summer of 2000, I want to say, when she gets this call. There's a girl group that the label just signed called Gloss. That's obviously like, I get they're like a mix of like the Spice Girls and say Destiny's Child type group.
Mhm.
And she said the executive calls her and says, hey, there's this girl group we just signed. One of the members unexpectedly had to drop out, and I think you'd fit in really well with them. So she comes in, and each of them have their like Spice Girl-esque nickname. Like Cassie ends up being Sassy Gloss. As it says, the synopsis, Mary is named Cherry Gloss. She's the one who I guess is like the hot one, or she's also the one who causes the most controversy. Like, she there's a storyline or a subplot where she gets involved in an affair with a famous actor who's married to a famous actress, and there's some drama there. There's Rose, who is Rosie Gloss, and she's the one who founded the group. And there's Yumi Gloss, who's given the nickname Tasty, which is she hates because like she's the totally sexualized member of the group. But she goes there to meet the girls. Mary and Yumi are more welcoming to her. Rose kind of resents her from the beginning because the member that had to drop out was Rose's best friend Vivian, and she dropped out because she got cancer and couldn't perform. So Rose is obviously upset over that, and there is some tension between her and Cassidy for a while to start off, because they've been working hard, and then Cassidy, because the executive remembered her from this nationally televised show, just says, oh, why don't you come on and just join in? So, and one aspect I thought there would be some resentment towards her for that never really comes is, I imagined if someone who got notoriety for being on an American Idol type show and getting pretty far in it, if they all of a sudden joined like a girl group or a boy band, they would kind of overshadow the other members. But that never really happens in this book.
Yeah.
And I kind of expected that to be sort of a thread at one point, but it never does happen.
Yeah.
But
because there's always like the one or two that are more popular within a group, a boy band or
like the Justin Timberlake.
right.
Like,
but he
yeah.
wasn't necessarily, even though I think he was on like Star Search or something, he wasn't famous on his own beforehand either. I don't know that that's ever really happened.
Yeah. But yeah, it is. I mean, that's just that's a little detail that like never really takes place in that. Rose is more resentful towards Cassidy because Rose and the other girls, along with Vivian, who again was her best friend, and she's upset over her not being able to join the group. Like, they put in all the work, and then Rose just hops in at the last minute. So there is some tension between them. Eventually you find out that Rose and Vivian's relationship, there was more to it, a more romantic element to it, and she eventually ends up developing that sort of bond. She ends up developing that sort of bond with Cassidy too, and it goes back and forth into, like, most of the book takes place in the past from Cassidy's point of view, and it'll occasionally jump back to a chapter on one of the other members going through, sort of their a subplot involving them in the future times, or in the present time. And the present time, the book came out in 2020, but the book is set in 2017. The present time is 2017. So, but overall, I did enjoy the book. There is a nostalgic aspect to it. And the thing with with how it was in the past, the book only, this group Gloss, they apparently were only together, like, fully famous for like 2 years. They have out 2 albums, then Cassidy unexpectedly leaves the group, and it's kind of unraveling, like, what happened, what led to her having a fallout, what led to certain things they're hinting at happened, what led to them happening. She has this friend from back home named Alex, who, after Cassidy becomes famous, he comes to visit her, and they end up developing a relationship and a romantic relationship. And at the same time, this character who was her competitor on the American Idol type show, the character Stephen St. James, he comes back and he's doing all this, like, public things. Like, she presents him an award at like a MTV VMA type show, which they call MVAs instead of, like, the MTV VMA stands for Video Music Awards. This one is just Music Video Awards. So, but, like, there's an incident, like, Cassidy presents Stephen St. James with an award at that show. He comes up, kisses her on the stage, and it generates, like, all this, publicity. And Alex is kind of like, what happened there? Or they start to have a bit of a fallout in the relationship, and it's eventually hinted at that something happened, that Alex had his life ruined because of Cassidy's fame. And what ends up happening is Stephen St. James ends up being kind of the predatory type that has been exposed in Hollywood and in music in recent years. And they're going to the Oscars together, him and Cassidy, and he tries to force himself on her, and, like, they end up getting in a struggle, and he ends up breaking her arm. But she's afraid to, like, tell the truth, like, because there's no witnesses. It's like, he said, she said, and Stephen St. James, like, threatens to have her ruined if she tells the truth. So what ends up, like, what ends up happening is Yumi sees it and thinks that Alex did that to her. And it comes out in the tabloids that Alex was the one who broke her arm and is abusing her. And there's a thing in the book that Cassidy and management never corrects them because, well, I can't remember the exact reasoning for it. It's I think it was something about the way it generated publicity for her and was helping Gloss's sales and Gloss's fame, that they were afraid of ruining it. So she was advised not to like really tell the truth on it. And Alex ends up having his life ruined. He ends up almost being killed in a car accident because paparazzi is chasing him. And that's what leads to Cassidy just having enough and quitting the group. That's in 2002. And my criticisms for this book is, I'll just say it ended up being a 3-star read for me, which is not bad, but it lost a couple of points because
Yeah.
in the 15 years in between Cassidy leaving the group and her death, there's like very little going on of what happened there. You know, there's one mention that Mary, about maybe 5 or 6 years after the group broke up, runs into Cassidy at a Target, and Cassidy kind of gives her sort of the cold shoulder in the way, and she's not looking great. But that really comes to nothing. The book and the epilogue ends with one of Cassidy's sisters giving her eulogy, and it's pretty much thrown out like what Cassidy had been doing in the 15 years in between.
Mm-hmm.
Like she basically had a normal life. She volunteered for charities. She seemed content with her life. But there seem to be so many threads in this book that don't get tied up.
Yeah.
That, Alex is at her funeral, but he walks with a cane now because of the car accident. And there's this thread of, will Alex and his family ever forgive Cassidy for staying quiet on the fact that Alex wasn't her abuser?
Mm-hmm.
But and there's like no real tying up of that. It's just that he's at her funeral,
Right.
but it doesn't say like, did they ever reconnect? Did anything happen there?
Yeah.
There's nothing mentioned. And that little thread of Mary having run into her a few years after, and she not looking great, looking anorexic, that doesn't get tied up later on.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing with her, that's something that started with when Klaus was still going on, because that's one of the triggerings in this book, the body dysmorphia aspect, because the manager tells her that she needs to stay in shape. So there's a thing where she's kind of starving herself. She's not being well nourished. Her friends are noticing it, saying that, she looks kind of frail, but, it doesn't appear to be really bad. But and there's some threads with the other members of the group. The other members of the group seem a little underdeveloped. That there's a thread where Rose Rose hurts her back on the set of one of their music videos. And there's a little mention that she, because of that injury, she later develops an addiction to painkillers. That's just something that comes to nothing, it seems. But so there are, overall, it was a good read. It kept, it was able to keep me going through it. I overall enjoyed the book, but those are just a couple of my criticisms. That there are some underdeveloped. The rest of the girls in the group are underdeveloped a bit, in my opinion, and there's some threads that like really don't come to anything or don't get tied up.
Did the book, like, would you say 90% of it was about being in the group, and then the last 15 years were like the last 10% of the book, or like how was the flow? Because it seems like it's a pretty decent sized book when you held it up.
It's like over 400 pages.
Yeah.
So
because I don't see necessarily why the book had to wait 15 years for the ending if a lot of that got glossed over at the end.
Yeah, a lot of it was Cassidy's point of view from her time like towards the end of Singing America, her time going back home, and then when she got into Gloss and like their whole ride.
Right.
So I mean, one thing I kept expecting, or one thread I thought would happen that you hear about with groups like that never did, is I thought there was going to be some thread at one time, like they were screwed over as far as their money was concerned. Like I thought they were going to
go down that.
Yeah, but that never happens. They're able, like, there's a part in the book where they each like they're living in an apartment together to start out with, but there's a part in the book where they get so famous that they each buy a nice house, their own nice house. They get cars, they have, this and that. And so that was one thing like I thought would happen but never did, is a detail that they were their manager screwed them over financially, or the record label or something. Because again, that happens all the time. Like there's been documentaries about that, like,
yeah, I think like every group has had that. It seems like,
obvious ones like the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, like they so that's a common story, but that was never anything that happened in the book. But
so she just kind of led a normal life, but it sounds like maybe she wasn't screwed out of all of her money either.
No.
She just kind of,
but but it ends with kind of them that's where the like kind of seriousness comes in, because when you're talking about losing someone to suicide, because I know what that's like when you lose a friend or family member to suicide. You're left with the questions of like, could we have seen the signs? And like there's something like her sister giving the eulogy and the other girls in the group, they're thinking like, how didn't I notice this? Or like looking back on some things, like, should I have noticed they were in trouble, or they never gave off any sign that they were going through this? It's like this depression is this invisible illness a lot of the time. And that's why we're so surprised when it was in the news that someone like Robin Williams died, or like our favorite musician, like recent years, Chris Cornell. And
right.
So it's kind of, there is that question, like, well, I mean, how could we have known, or should we have seen some signs? So there, I guess, is that detail of trying to look at it through that angle, like how, like, the 15 years in between her leaving the group and her death. I tried to look at it from that angle, like, well, maybe was that Elissa R. Sloan, was that her point, that sometimes you just don't see it coming? So
Right.
So she kind of was able to just summarize it in a few sentences of what her 15 years in between were
Right.
like.
Yeah, true.
But,
I mean,
overall, it was a 3-star read for, I would say it was more like a 3.25. But I mean, it's not bad. I did enjoy it. I would say it is recommended reading for me, but just there are just some, after reading this, there are just some questions left
right.
of what happened in this instance, and could there have been more to this, or
Yeah,
and
because in a sense, like you said, I mean, it's real. Maybe it's mimicking real life a little too real, where you have unanswered questions, but then you also think, especially if you know that type of situation firsthand, you don't want that. Maybe when you're reading it, you want it to tie up, because real life isn't always like that. So I can see both sides of it. In one aspect, it might be more true to real life to not have too many details, but then you think, well, but in a book, why can't we craft a more perfect ending or whatnot?
More detail, because the thread of Mary running into her and saying she looked terrible, and Cassie essentially essentially blowing her off. Like, well, what was going on there?
Right.
But that doesn't get wrapped up in the epilogue. They're just, I would have liked some more questions answered in this book.
Yeah.
Or more, more threads tied up in the end. But overall, and the thing is, this is her first book, and there's a thing in the end, hold on, I'm pulling it up here. In like there's like a behind the book section at the end here, where it took her 3 years to write this book, like multiple drafts. And she got the idea from the book because she was a Spice Girls fan when she was younger. And then she was reading stories in the tabloids that one of the Spice Girls, I believe it, Mel B, who was, I believe, Scary Spice. I know it was Scary Spice. I'm saying I believe to try. No, I know this shit. Come on. No. No, she was, at the time she got the idea for the book, she was reading stories in the tabloids that Scary Spice was going through a divorce, and a nasty one too. And she thought, like, well, story of, like, a once popular girl group, like famous, this, what, trying to imagine what that would be like to have her
Mhm.
life, out in the world like that.
Right.
And then she got like, well, she took it a step further. It was like, what would the reaction be if a once popular girl group member suddenly died?
Yeah.
And I mean, that it sort of like took off from there. Um, I'm
It's
gonna
a
pull.
great concept.
I'm gonna like pull it up so I'm given the.
I'm pretty shocked it's a debut. I mean,
Yeah,
it seems very well crafted.
yeah.
Mhm.
Fast forward 2014. I've been reading, or hold on. I began paying attention to popular music in middle school. My first concert was In Sync. My first album, Mariah Carey. Somewhere in the jumble of pop and R&B came the Spice Girls and their movie Spice World, which I saw in theaters. That and a pair of ankle-breaking platform shoes was the extent of their influence on me, or so I thought. Fast forward to 2014. I've been reading celebrity gossip for about a decade at that point, and I knew the ins and outs of Mel B's ongoing horrible divorce. Around the same time, I caught us showing of Spice World on TV. It was an interesting the hack to I I feel weird when I can't read certain words, but um interesting idea, I'll say.
Mhm.
Seeing the face she presented to the world as Scary Spice in the movie, filmed more than 15 years before, compared to the very publicized private battle that Mel B was waging with her ex in the present. And I began to wonder, what would it be like if something more devastating happened in the news, like a once popular girl group member died unexpectedly years after the group's messy breakup. So that's where the idea came from. And reading the rest of her behind the book segment, like she put a lot of work into. She wrote like many drafts of this. Took
Mhm.
her 3 years. So that's like part of like why I hesitate to want to be critical about
Mhm.
books, like, because there is a lot of heart and work put into this,
Right.
as she
Yeah.
reveals. And even though I did overall enjoy it, like that is it just I mean that's still where I am hesitant to be critical of
Yeah.
someone.
And that's
So
understandable.
I mean, I follow her on Instagram, so I am definitely, she has her next book planned already, which, reading the premise behind, I can't think of the title of it right now. It's like a similar title, the something of this girl's name. And it seems to be influenced by the recent news with Britney Spears,
Okay.
where it's like a former child, or either a child star or like a pop star who is caught in a conservatorship that she has no business being a part of.
Yeah.
So that's the premise for her next one. And but I'm going to read that when it comes out, and I'm going to follow along with this author more. But for being a debut, I feel this is pretty solid, and everything I am critical of this book for, I hope, is comes off as constructive. And just that said, I did find one only one-star review on Amazon, reviewed in the United Kingdom on October 22nd, 2020. One star, so bad. This was flagged as similar to Daisy Jones and the Six. Wow, is that a disservice to Daisy Jones? This is badly written. I cringed multiple times at some of the writing, and the editing is horrendous too. Sometimes the author uses words that don't even make sense in the context. Not even worth it if you have ever have a long flight or a pool lounger. Plot and character development are lacking. It could have been over and done with in half the pages. Not good, worst book I've read all year.
Oh, wow. That
So,
was harsh. It looks like her new book is The Unshackling of Haley Aldridge.
Unshackling of Haley Aldridge, yes.
And that's out February 23rd.
I think February 2023.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is that what that means?
I think so.
It says on her Instagram, it says out 2/23. So I just assumed it was next year or next.
Yeah, but I think I found it on Goodreads, and it says, I think it said 2/23 means February of 2023.
Oh, okay.
I think that's what it meant.
Oh, yeah, it is 2023. At least in the article that she links announcing the book. Okay, so it's got a little ways to go, but
yeah.
that's okay.
But for the Unraveling of Cassidy, it's an average of 3.51 out of over 12,000 ratings. So
Yeah.
got a positive review from last week's author, Taylor Jenkins Reid. I also meant to bring this up. The review that's up top here on the book, it says, a witty, bright, hilarious, and at times devastating read. I loved it. Their use of the word hilarious, there is really nothing funny in this book. Because I saw that review, and then as I'm reading, I'm getting late in the book, I'm like, where is anything? Not that it made it bad,
right?
that there was nothing fun, but it just,
yeah, it just
if there was, I'm failing to see it, because
right. Yeah, that's interesting how that word got on there.
Yeah. Yeah, that is The Unraveling of Cassidy Holmes by Elissa R. Sloan. So
nice.
Overall, a recommended read with some constructive criticism, I feel.
That's good.
So
I agree with your review from at least everything you said. I didn't read the book, but
I was able to make enough sense of it, right? Okay.
Yeah.
I worry about that sometimes.
No, yeah. It all sounded completely appropriate.
Yeah, I feel like there's a few threads in that book that I wanted to reference and didn't get to, but I feel overall I hope I gave a well enough gist of the book too.
Yeah.
So yeah, on that note, I think it was another good week for us. So
I concur.
Yeah, this is episode 9 of the podcast. Next week we will be in double digits. And we have something special planned, don't we? I know we
do. I'm excited for it.
Since we did our first special episode on The Shining from my favorite author, Stephen King, the next one will be your favorite author, Agatha Christie.
Yes.
We are talking about book that laid out the formula for many of today's popular mystery books.
Mhm.
The And Then There Were None formula.
Correct.
So we will be talking about Agatha Christie and Then There Were None with a hopefully a special guest, good friend of ours who we will introduce you to next week.
Yes, I'm
And
excited for it.
yeah, I am so excited for that too. So yeah, on that note, I think we are going to wrap this one up this week. For some reason, I don't know how to end this week. I get that way sometimes on my Cup of Joe podcast when I do that, but yeah.
Well, yeah, that was our pick. Our pick is for next week is a joint effort, and we're going to talk about just one book, and that's all.
And do you want to? The week after will be another, but it will be a theme episode. Do you want to preview that as well?
We can
This early to give the people an extra week since we're kind of into that season now. If we want to give the people an extra week to catch up, those who are reading along with us, that is going to be our December 20th episode, which is the week leading up to Christmas. So we are doing Christmas themed books.
We are.
In 2 weeks. So what is your pick for that?
My pick is Window Shopping by Tessa Bailey, someone that we have featured on here before, one of Joe's picks.
Which I plan to read along to that this weekend, and it looks like a shorter book than expected.
It is, yeah. I was surprised when it arrived, and you were too when you found it at the library.
I texted you this. Reading the synopsis on the back, I cannot wait to hear you read that synopsis. And like because of the flow of that, so that's all I'll say on it. But my question is, considering it's a Christmas themed romance story, how spicy could it be? I have yet to find out for myself, but
I have not read any reviews or anything on it. I would think it's going to be not as spicy as some books that you read, Joan.
It happened one summer.
Yeah.
Which I know I told you this. I don't know if I mentioned on the podcast. I got a advanced copy on NetGalley of the follow-up to It Happened One Summer, Hook, Line, and Sinker.
Exciting. Yeah.
Which, I have not read it yet. But
I was going to say, when are you going to wait a little closer to, or what?
Probably.
Yeah.
I think I might have that be my pick the week it comes out.
Yeah.
Because there are some upcoming titles. Like I have some advanced reading copies from NetGalley that I am planning to do the episode for the week they come out. So that I think that'll happen with that one too. But my pick for our Christmas themed episode will be In a Holidays by Christina Lauren, which I am excited to read. Oh, you have it.
Yes, I read it last year.
I
might have a review on my Instagram. Don't read it. Don't read the review.
I won't. But they had the Kindle version on sale earlier this week, so I got it there.
I do have to say, I just love the cover though. I just think it's such a cute, it just really catches your eye.
Well, you know what? We thought the same thing about It Happened One Summer. No. No, I am excited to read it. And I get the sense that you even though I won't check out your review beforehand, I have a sense that you enjoyed it.
Do
Okay.
I reveal my hand or
No, don't.
Okay.
Don't. That's not necessary. So
we'll
yeah,
get into it.
yeah, and it's shaping up to be a fun December. So yeah. I even have my pick for the 27th already, but I will not. We don't need to reveal that yet. You know. But you have the next 2 weeks. So next week will be a special discussion on And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. And then our Christmas themed romance stories in 2 weeks. So get everyone in the spirit for the festive holidays season. Whatever you celebrate. Fuck, I don't. Anyway, yeah. Thank you everyone for listening. I am just rambling at this point. So Lauren, I hope you have a wonderful week, and
you too.
take
Joe.
care.
Thank
And
you.
listener, take care. We love you, and we'll be back next week and the week after. And thank you for listening. Talk to you later.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.